Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Hi.
Good morning.
That was awkward.
Dude, it's so cold and so it takes a while to kind of get moving. I was talking with Kenneth, a buddy of mine, and he serves on the media team, and he was kind of getting up out of a chair or whatever. This past weekend, we were hanging out in one of our meet church groups, and he kind of winced and grabbed his knee. And I said, dude, you're looking like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. I'm like, you need some oil in those joints.
I feel that.
And I woke up this morning and I was like, I need some oil in my joints.
I feel that.
Dude, it's just whenever it gets so cold, it takes me a while. I feel like I'm like a lizard. Like I just need to go sit on a rock and get underneath the sun.
I have two heaters going on in my office right now.
2 heaters?
I have 2 little space heaters in my office right now.
One of them is tiny, though.
One of them is really tiny, but the other, I mean, they're both kind of small, but my office was freezing this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have that work being done on that little bathroom.
There's work being done in the bathroom that's attached to my office, and there's no ceiling in there right now. So my office is way colder, probably than most every other place in the building.
Yeah.
So,
but
it's okay.
We are awake.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I got a little bit of caffeine in me. I'm ready to go. I know we've talked about this for the last 2 episodes, just kind of leading up to it, and we weren't able to get to it because I kind of jumped the gun on announcing it. But I'm excited about this just because we're going to start a series to where we highlight some of the ministries that are just not necessarily your typical ministry that you see at a church.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you see like a building fund or, and that addresses the physical needs of the church, which I think is fine. You usually see something along the lines of maybe like a food pantry or something, but not to the extent of let's go out into the community and help make a difference in people's lives. That so desperately need it. We have a recovery warriors ministry where we see individuals from the church that have gotten together and created their own 501c and minister to the ladies that go to Recovery Point here. 100 of them, and it's a 365-day job a year, whatever. 305. You get it.
Yep.
I need more caffeine.
It's nonstop.
It's nonstop. It is all the time. And one of the things that we have here as well is our special needs ministry. It's headed up by Reagan Good, and she has partnered with you while you were still the children's pastor, and now that relationship has kind of been transferred to you. But I think it's all. I think there's still moments to where everybody's kind of like following up with her and trying to give her the support that she needs.
Yeah.
But Pastor Jess, just real quick, I, for us as a church, why is it important that we do something along these lines?
Yeah. So I had the opportunity in January. Well, let me backtrack. So I started last year in August, and literally when I started, I was told that I had to help. This sounds bad. I don't mean this badly, but this is what was happening. So like I started and I was told, hey, guess what? There is a special needs ministry starting, and you have to finish the work in the room back there. Like you have to fix it up, finish the remodel, and there's an event in 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Okay. All right, we can do this. Like not a big deal. And so I got to started talking with Reagan and, just kind of hearing her heart for the ministry, talking to Cheryl and hearing, kind of her heart for the ministry as well. And I had the opportunity in January to go to the Children's Pastors Conference. And one of the very first breakouts that I did there was saying yes to a special needs ministry. And I loved it because one of the things that they said in that breakout was that our church, whatever church you go to, has a mission statement or should have a mission statement that is about people. And that mission statement is saying yes to people. It's not saying yes to certain people. It's saying yes to people. And at the time, our mission statement was the perfect place for imperfect people to become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. And I remember sitting there in that breakout session, and I thought, well, isn't that the perfect mission statement to saying yes to people? And she asked, I remember the lady's name was Megan. She asked, she's like, what is your church's mission statement? And I said it. And she said, so nowhere in your church's mission statement does it say no to a certain type of person. And I said, no, not at all. And she said, that's what special needs ministry is. Yeah. And that's what it's important. That's why it's important, is because we as a church are saying yes to people. We're not saying yes to certain types of people, people without disabilities. We're not saying yes to people without addiction, or we're not saying no. Sorry, we're not saying no to people with disabilities. We're not saying no to people with addiction. We're not saying no to college students. We're not saying no to fill in the blank. We're saying yes to people. And so I think the importance behind special needs ministry is because it's about saying yes. It's about saying yes, but it's also about it's also about loving people. And it's so important, because I think that a lot of times, especially, I know for me, I've worked with special needs since high school. And really even before that. But I've always had this soft spot in my heart for individuals with special needs. And I think it's important because a lot of times they get forgotten.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of times they get forgotten, and they're not seen, or maybe they're seen and heard, but not for the reasons that they want to be seen or heard. Right. And I think it's important because we're giving them a safe space. We're giving them a place where they can come and they can be 100% themselves. Yeah. And we're going to do whatever we possibly can in order to make sure that they're having a good time while they're here, that they're safe while they're here, but that their parents can also worship and continue to grow their next steps. Because there are parents that can't even come to church because their churches don't have a special needs ministry. Yeah. And so we want to be able to be that place that says, yes, like, we want your child here. We have an adult that comes to our special needs ministry. Yeah. And so, like, we want to be able to help carry that I don't want to say burden, but carry that load with you. Like, we want to be able to be that person that can come alongside you and carry what you can't carry by yourself. And so we want to be able to do that with you. And so I think that is probably one of the biggest things about special needs ministry is that we are going to be able to be another resource for individuals and families. And we want to be that. I know Reagan does. Like, Reagan hardcore has such a heart for special needs. Like, oh my goodness, it's crazy.
I think that a lot of the times too, that individuals just don't really know how to.
Yes.
You know, I think there's still like a certain stigma around special needs and everything, and it's totally opposite of the case.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that for a lot of them, it's like that fear of failure, like that fear of, well, I don't know about this. I don't know what to do in this situation, so we're just not going to do it. Like, because I don't want to fail at this, or I don't want to say, yeah, we'll do this, but then, like, your kid gets hurt and we're blamed. Like, there's just so much fear around that, like, aspect of unknown. And so, like, it just simply takes, like, reaching out, finding that information. And
well, we just, like, when we started last year, one of the things that we did was my mom works in the school system, and 2 of the teachers from my mom's school came and trained 5 or 6 of our volunteers here at Southridge. They were totally free. Miss Wall and Miss James came, and they trained our volunteers that are going to be working with special needs ministry here at Southridge. Yeah. they trained them. They went over like just basics. They allowed a time for questions. They looked in our special needs room, walked around, told us like, wow, this looks really great. Hey, you may want to avoid this. You may want to avoid that. And so that was wonderful to be able to have these two teachers who are working in the school system in special education to come in and not just like come in and see our space, but come in and train our volunteers and help equip them for what they're going to need. Yeah. But something else that we talked about at the Children's Pastors Conference was if you have one child with special needs, you have a special needs ministry. I just want to read this really quick. This is what they gave us when we were there. And it says, there are children with special needs in your church. Some might have physical disabilities, some may have developmental disabilities, and even some may have hidden disabilities that you do not see. But there are children with special needs in your church. And as a church, we are called to love on all God's children and point them towards a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It might look different for children with special needs, but it is possible, and they are worth it. We'll start at the beginning and give you the basics for establishing a special needs ministry. All you have to do is take the first step and say yes. Yeah. And so I loved that because as we went through that breakout, she talked about how a lot of times we think special needs, we think of the physical disabilities, but kids with ADHD, kids with autism, kids with, all of these other mental health disorders can also be considered part of that special needs ministry. Yeah. And so, that's something we have to keep in mind also. It's those hidden things too that a lot of times we don't see. Right. Yeah. So I just really enjoyed that. And just the fact that she was like, hey, listen, there's more than just what we see. We have to kind of be all inclusive in that realm.
Yeah. And I think like what I learned along the way and stuff that I read and stuff is that a lot of times parents don't tell you those things, like those things you don't see, because they've been in those places and those spaces where they're told they can't accommodate their child or whatever because they're not set up for it. And so then they leave or they keep their kid with them or whatever that looks like in those moments. And it's heartbreaking, like, to think about that. Yeah.
I think, man, I'm trying to hold it back.
Well, let's not go on a rant.
No.
Just kidding. No.
Like emotionally. For me, I understand that there's like developmental issues that prevent people from understanding some of the complex things that we study in the Bible. But I think the simple truth of being able to teach someone that Jesus loves them, regardless of where they're at, I think is something that everybody needs to at least be presented with. And there's a lot of talk about a cage, the age of accountability, and are they really fully able to comprehend God's grace and His mercy? And if we can just strip all that back and just provide them a space where they can be themselves, and then they can hear that Jesus loves them unconditionally. I think it's just so super important.
And sometimes it's not even a matter of hearing it. Sometimes it's a matter of feeling it, like showing experiencing it
through
like
those who love Jesus.
We have a child right now in our first, like, that comes to Southridge, comes first service, who is autistic. And Sunday I was back there and he ran up and gave me a huge hug when he was leaving. And his dad stopped and looked at me and he goes, I am shocked right now. And I said, why? And he goes, he does not hug people. He does not show affection to people. He does not do that. He said, it is very shocking that he just ran up and gave you a hug right now. Yeah. And he said, I'm being serious. Like, he kept saying it over and over again. He's like, I am shocked that he just gave you a hug right now. And I said, well, I'll take that as a compliment. And his dad started laughing. He said, please do. He said, because I mean, even at home, it's like a struggle to just have him show affection to someone. And so, like, it makes me think of those things too, like just showing someone the love, showing someone that they matter, showing someone that you're going to continue to show up no matter, if we have a meltdown that day, or, you know, whatever the case may be. It was funny because when we were talking about the special needs ministry at CPC, the lady said someday she has a pretty large special needs ministry at her church. And she said, some days we have no pant days. She said, that happens at church. And she said, it's happened. She said, when I have a kid that decides that he doesn't want to wear his pants for the day, she said, we have to make do. And so it made me laugh. But I thought, you know what, like but in that moment, you're making accommodations for what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make sure all the other kids are safe and, you know, all those other things. But it's one of those things where it's so rewarding. I can say that with 100% confidence, and I'm probably sure you can too. But like, I remember when I was in high school, our high school had something called People, and I don't remember what it stood for. But my junior and senior year of high school, we did block periods. So one block, sorry, I wasn't close enough to the microphone. One block, I was able to work in People, which was our special needs class. And that was my favorite thing ever. I loved it. Like, I still see some of those kids. I say kids, they're not kids, but I still see some of them like out and about in cross lanes and Nitro now. And they'll like wave at me and talk to me and things like that. But we had a blast. I got to help with Special Olympics. I got to help with like all those things. But it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I think for me, it just helped me to like, I don't know. I
see that they're human too. I think like
like
I think sometimes when we're not exposed to it, we're not around it, like we don't always understand. And that's one thing for me. Like I loved helping with Special Olympics every year as a kid in school. Loved helping with it. And it was just so fun to see, you know, these kids like just experience and enjoy something that they don't normally get to, and being cheered for and all of that, instead of like potentially made fun of or whatever. But it just helps you see that they're just the same. Like just because there's something that's different doesn't mean that they are like awful or like that we should exclude them. Like they are literally at the root of it all, like underneath it all, like they're really the same. Like they want to have fun and be a kid too. They want to be able to run down the track or race down the track. They, you know, play in games that others do. Like they just want to experience life just like everyone else. And it just,
I saw a parent or someone post something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and it said, it was something about like, I wish I could have remembered exactly what it was, but it was basically talking about children with disabilities. And it said, when your child sees someone with a disability, don't tell them to stop looking. Right. Explain to them like, hey, this is whatever. And because when you tell them to stop looking, it makes one, the article said, or the post said something about like, when you tell them to stop looking, it's mainly making me and my family feel like we are these outsiders or, you know, whatever. And it said, don't tell them that. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Let them
questions.
talk. Let them ask questions. Like, it's funny because like my nephew, there's a guy that, and I'm sure people watching, you probably know who this is, but my brother and I grew up with a guy that walks around Charleston all the time. His name is Jermichael. Scott and I grew up with him. I went to high school with his brothers, or middle school with his junior high. Sorry, that's how old I am. Junior high, not middle school.
Is that the guy at the softball field?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's Jermichael. He is our buddy. Like we've known him since we were kids. And a few years ago, we were at the softball fields, and he's down there. And if you know Jermichael, he's always talking on his phone. He loves WVU football. Like he thinks that he's part of the football coaching team, and he's done that for years. And he was down there at the ball field, and Landon and Olivia and then Jocelyn and Yeager and Charlie were all down there. Well, and there were some other kids down there, and some of the other kids were laughing. And so I said, hey, like, not cool. Like, we're not doing this. Like, we don't laugh at kids, like, whatever. And so Landon comes over and he asks a question. He's like, what's why is he doing that? And so we explained to him, and this is actually something that we talked about at the special needs training that we had, at the ministry training that we had, like how to explain special needs sometimes to kids that may not fully understand. And so one of the things that they talked about and what we talked about was like explaining that that person has like a special brain, like a different brain. Their brain doesn't think like your brain does. And so we were explaining that to Landon, and he was like, okay. And then of course, a couple weeks ago, he heard kids making fun of Jermichael, and he stopped it. He was like, hey, he has a special brain. Like, that's not okay. Well, then like last year or something, there was an adult that made a comment about him. Landon turned around and was like, hey, you don't talk about him. He has a special brain. But it's those things like that. Like, I think we have to call attention to that, because now Landon knows, like when he sees Jermichael, like he knows who he is. Yeah. And he will tell people, like, don't make fun of him. He has a special brain. Yep. And even like we have an adult who is lower functioning that comes to our special needs ministry. And the first Sunday that she came back there, I didn't know how the kids were going to respond, because she is older. They didn't respond any differently. Yeah. At all. Like she was on teams with the kids. She was playing with the kids. Like she comes back every Sunday. She worships with them. She's in their small groups with them. Yeah. They don't treat her any differently. Yeah. None. And so I think it's a matter of like starting at that young age. It just makes me think too, like I think it was last year we did the Challenger League baseball thing at Nitro. And I wish I would have had a picture, because your daughter, Ryan, had gone up to the fence with my mom, because my mom works with a lot of kids in the Nitro Cross Lanes area. And there was a little boy they were playing their Challenger baseball game, and he was at the fence with his mom. And Ryan is bent down at the fence, and she is just right in the fence, and she's waving at him and telling him hi, and he's just grinning at her. And I told Mom afterwards, I said, man, that was the sweetest thing ever. I wish I would have had my phone. And I said, she kept talking to him. My mom said, well, you should have told me. I would have like taken her out to introduce her. And I said, well, he was getting ready to bat. Like, it's not a big deal, but it was the sweetest thing. But I think it's a matter of letting kids know that, like, in those moments, like Ryan wasn't, and I do think that culture and our society has taught people that people that are different from us are scary. Like people that have those special brains are scary, or whatever.
Well, it's this thought that, I mean, you got to think about 60, 70 years ago what they used to do with people with mental disabilities.
Yeah,
it
wasn't very long ago.
Institutionalize them.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, but and it wasn't until like recently. Obviously, we. The term where we get Down syndrome from is from this guy. His name is John Downs, and he was a doctor, and he was just adopting all of these individuals that had the same facial features and the way that they would act, and they just would love on people and just want hugs and just were so happy. And it brought a lot more awareness to it. And there's actually like a really good documentary about this kid that's in San Antonio, and it was called Up Syndrome. And it's really good. And it allowed, because I knew that I was going to have like tough conversations with my kids, you know, and I didn't want to wait. I just wanted to get those conversations over with, but also just to show my kids, like, look, like, there's people out there that need to be seen, and we need to be friendly to them, and we need to make them feel like they're a part of anything that we do. And so, like, it makes my heart feel good knowing that my daughter did that, even though it just came through for myself, a very tough conversation that I had to have with her, because I didn't know how to explain it. I just, in the best way that I could.
Yeah.
So...
But I think those conversations are important. Yeah. And I think that's also important even within the church too. Yeah. Is because if we are being a church that's saying yes, we're being a church that's saying yes no matter what. Yeah. And so making sure that we're saying yes to individuals with special needs is important, because, it's going to look different back there. We get that. But we're saying yes, like, this is what we're going to do. We are committed to doing this. Yeah. Even if it's just one kid, even if it's just one person, we're committed to doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's one or there's 50. Like, it doesn't matter. This is what we're committed to doing. This is what we're saying yes to.
Yeah. And I think like being able to be creative and do different things and do things on the fly and like be flexible in it is huge. One of the trainings I went to on special needs ministry, when I was early into it, I remember they told a story about how they had a lot of teens that would work as buddies, that they would buddy up with kids who have special needs. And occasionally, you know, one would get bit. And so she kept, like, they would scare them and make some of them maybe not want to do it. And so she was like praying and was like, what can I do to kind of make this like okay and then feel okay with this happening sometimes? Because I mean, it's the reality of it at times. So she came up with a thing she called the bite club instead of the fight club, the bite club. And so like she came up with like a special keychain things that said the bite club. And so like if somebody got bit, like they did this whole like induction thing where like, you're now part of the bite club. And they would like, and it got to where the teens were like, yes, like where they were excited when it happened because they felt like, okay, you know, this is something that I am here and it's happened. Yes. But like, it's okay because I am showing up for this kid, even though whatever, I am loving them, even though this is happening. And this is a picture of Jesus. And so like, it was just a really cool, interesting idea that I was like, man, that's awesome to take like something that could be negative and scary and whatever, like to a level of excitement around it to where they were totally okay with it from that point on. And it was like, you know, to where they would come over and be like, let me see, like they would want to see the bite, like, let me see, like, oh, that's a good one, you know, that kind of thing because of it. And I just remember thinking like, wow, like that is cool because not everywhere would do that. Like a lot of places you bite, like you're out, you know, and it's just the reality of it. Sometimes there are times where there can be scary things that happen. But it's not something we should shy away from. Yeah. Because and like not do it because of the chance that it might happen.
Exactly.
It's just like whenever we have a situation, in church and there's just something that's messy and it's not glorious. We don't want to look at that person and say, look, you can't come back to church. No, because that's just not the image of grace and mercy. Everybody should be treated with that same grace and mercy. I think one of the things that I wish that our schedules could have worked it out, but we had tried to get Reagan here so we can hear from her. But we did reach out to her, and we did ask her a couple of questions, and we just want to take this moment for you, the listener, to be able to hear from her. And some of the questions that we asked her is, and the first one is, why is special needs ministry important to you?
This ministry is important to me because it doesn't only affect those with special needs who are attending. It also affects those who are caretakers for these individuals by allowing them to attend service and grow in their own faith. Having a place for this community to belong and bring their gifts enriches our church as well. The special needs ministry offers so much more than just benefiting one person because of this. It's also important to me because we have the ability to provide an accepting and accessible environment for others to grow in faith. This ministry is great because we are able to work with the caretakers and individuals to come up with a learning plan that best suits them. Having the option to be in a quiet, sensory-friendly room, working one-on-one with a buddy may be the best experience for some, while others may prefer to be in a setting with peers their own age. This ministry is not just for kids either. We want all ages and abilities to feel welcome in our church and develop their relationship with God.
Well, that's really true. I love how she answered that, which she's, you know, she was the one who came to me first, but I am reminded about Angela Huffman, and hopefully I can say her name on here. But when they first came to Southridge, I had just literally from that conference I went to, I had bought a book and a DVD called Surviving to Thriving in Special Needs Ministry. I had read the whole thing, watched all the videos in like one day. And then that next day on that weekend, I went out and I was at Toys R Us, like getting a baby shower gift or something. But they had this specific toy in like the like cheap section of toys, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's one of those things that was like in the video and all of that talked about having some different like fidget toys and things like that in a basket for kids to come in. And so I literally had just bought them on Saturday and brought them with me that Sunday morning. And then in walks the Huffmans and her son, who has high functioning autism. And I'm like, I invited her in because she shares with me about it. She's like, I don't know if he's going to stay. I don't know that this is going to work. And I said, well, why don't you come in and sit with him? And she was like, well, I'm a little nervous to do that because I'm afraid I'll get stuck back here and we'll never get to go to service. And I said, well, let's just try it. Like, just this week, let's just try it. And so then when they came in and I said, listen, Sean, I have this for you. I said, nobody's ever used it. He watched me take the tags off of it and give it to him. And I said, when you come, you get this toy every week. It's yours. And he sat down with it. Like, at first it was just sitting beside him. And as the service went, he finally grabbed it and started kind of fidgeting with it a little bit, sitting there in his circle with his group. And then before, like, it's about halfway through the service, he's fully immersed, like playing with the toy, listening in. She was able to leave and go to the restroom and come back. And she even stood at the door for a while watching. And she left that day thinking, like, she was like, I cannot believe that I was able to leave the room. Like, I can't believe this. And so the next week she was in there for maybe 5 minutes and was able to leave and go to service.
Yeah. And
I remember, like, her almost in tears just talking to me about, like, I can't believe I'm getting to go to service. I never thought this would be possible. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, like, and now she's one of our greatest volunteers. Like, her, you know, Sean is in high school.
I think so.
Oh my gosh,
he's in
makes me
ninth
feel
grade.
so old. Anyway,
it's because you are.
Yeah, I am older than when I started for sure, but almost a decade in. But, like, I just remember thinking, like, wow, that is so cool. Like, thank you, God, for letting me read that and see that and have that. Like, that was all for, at the moment, like, just for him. Yeah. And I was totally okay with it. But from that moment, it was like praying for, you know, special needs ministry. How are we going to do this? Like, because right at the time, like, we only had the ability to offer things within the classes.
Yeah.
And so I did things like that within what I could do to help accommodate in that way. But so then when Reagan sent that email, it was like, yes, absolutely. So, like, meeting with her, hearing things like that from her.
Okay, real quick, listening to her talk. Is that not just like the calming, like the most calming voice?
Yes.
Like, she needs to narrate some of them books for that sleep app where people are trying to go to sleep. Like, cause I can hear her like putting people to sleep.
Sweet.
Like, it's so soothing. You're like,
she's just so sweet. And so she has this nature about her that just makes people like feel calm. And I think that, like, lends such great success to what she does because, I mean, she's just a tiny little thing anyway. You know what I mean? So she's not like this big, intimidating person as it is. Yeah. But, like, you just feel her heart, her care, her passion. Like, when talking with her about it.
The lady that we have that comes back to the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is the name of our special needs ministry. I don't know if we've said that, but it is called the Lighthouse. And so the lady that comes back to the Lighthouse, there was a couple weeks ago, Reagan wasn't here, and Terry always calls me Buddy. She says, "Hey, Buddy." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Hey." Mm-hmm. And so she saw me and she said, "Hey, Buddy, where's that girl?" So I told Reagan, I said, "You are now that girl." Mm-hmm. So every Sunday, 2 weeks ago, she saw me, and Reagan was in the college group still or whatever. And so they meet between services or whatever the case may be. And so she was still back there. And so I had passed by and saw Terry sitting in the worship center. So I walked in, I said, "Terry, you coming back with me?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she went, "Where's that girl?" And I said, "She's coming, don't worry." But it's so funny because that's what she calls Reagan that girl all the time. She's like, "Where's that girl?" But it's fun to see the two of them, like the relationship that they have built over the last few months. has just been awesome because she knows, like Terry knows, like, where is Reagan? Where is she? But they have such a great relationship. They spend the first few minutes, probably the first 5-10 minutes in the classroom, in the Lighthouse. And then they come in to the E-Zone with the kids and get to participate in worship and the lesson and all those things. And there is nothing that that she does that Reagan does not do also. And I think it is so cool. Like, we play, I just think back to the very first Sunday she came back into the E-Zone, and we were doing a race. We were talking about Ruth, and they were taking rice, putting it in a cup and taking it from one bin to the other. And she said, I don't think I want to do that. And Reagan said, we can do it. And so sure enough, here's Reagan out there, like, running back and forth with her when it was her turn. And so it was just really cool to be able to see how, you know, Reagan was able to get her excited about doing it. She was laughing and having a great time. And, but just seeing that, like, because I do think that makes a huge difference too. Just in kids ministry or any type of ministry, like, you have to be willing to do what you're asking of other people to do. And so, like, you know, sometimes you have to look silly in order to do that. And in order for kids to, like, really understand, or for individuals to really, you know, understand what to do and how to do it, and that it's okay to have a little bit of fun. And so it was just really fun to be able to see her out there. And I also think of our Easter egg hunt. I have a picture of Reagan with we had our Easter egg hunt this year, and we had to do it inside because it was snowing, and we did a special needs egg hunt in the Lighthouse, and we had probably 2 or 3 people that showed up for it, but the very first little girl that came in had the biggest smile on her face. And her mom came back and she said, I can go in and help her if I need to. And Reagan was like, it's okay, I'll help her. And it was just her and Reagan. They were back there. And I have the sweetest picture of that little girl and Reagan sitting in the floor. They sat there probably for 20 or 30 minutes opening Easter eggs. And every time she opened an egg, she was so excited. And she had to show Reagan exactly what was in that egg. And she had found a golden egg, and she was going to get a prize. But the picture is so sweet because she and Reagan are just sitting there, and you can see the genuine, like, care that Reagan has, not just for individuals with special needs, but just for people, which is clear in her calling. I mean, she has a call to do pediatrics, and so
I love it because, like, she understands her calling to such a level to where, like, we had an initial conversation, and then there was some time between her and I getting back together because I took some time to pray, because one thing that COVID did for us was we were able to see what spaces in our kids ministry area were being fully utilized and what spaces could change. And so I had taken some time to pray because I was like, okay, I know we can offer inclusion within the classroom, but having a safe space outside of it, I was trying to figure out and adjust. And so I had taken some time to pray to see, okay, which area, what room, like, where could we offer this? And so, like, I remember that email that came through where she was like, hey, I just want to find out where we are on this, because if this isn't going to happen here, I need to go where I can use my gifts and do this. And I was like, you are amazing. I wish so many people understood that. Like, that if you're called to do something and you have gifts to be used, like, you need to go where you can use them. But so I was like, no, I said, let's get back together. I've been praying. I think we have a space. Come to the church. Let's meet so you can see it. So you can know, like, if this is what, you know. So we got back together and we did that. And, like, you know, I mean, obviously, like, you came in the middle of all those things happening, and it was like, I was like, listen, I'm here with you and going through this with you. Like, you don't fully have to do this. Like, I'm here for it too, because I'm not going to just like let you go, like, and you have no clue what we've talked about. And so, but it was a very interesting time to come in, because
it's very
like,
interesting.
You're not just coming into, you know, full-time ministry job for the first time. You're coming in and we're adding ministry to that. And like, and so it was like a bit crazy. And I remember, like, that event, like, we didn't have the amount of people come that we wanted to have come, but like, man, for those kids who did, it was so special and so cool. And
we actually did have a family that came for a while because of that event. That came to the Lighthouse. They came for quite a while. But it was all because of that event that they were here at Southridge.
And I think, I mean, for me, it's not about the numbers in that case. Like you said, if you have one, you have it. I don't think it's about the numbers. I think it's about offering that, like, to say, we are a place for you. We are a place for your child. We're a place, that is all about all people. And that's what I find beautiful. And that's what I love seeing that come through in Reagan. Yeah.
We asked her another question and wanted to allow everybody to hear her response to this, because it's such an important, it's always like anytime somebody asks you if you're in ministry, okay, well, what's your vision for the worship ministry? What's your vision for kids ministry or the next steps in discipleship? Like we're up, like, we have to be vision minded. Like, we have to have an end goal or some goals set in place to where we can start moving into that. So vision is super important, but that's the question that we asked her, is what is your vision for this ministry?
My vision for this ministry is for those who attend to find and grow in a relationship with God. I hope we reach those in our community who may feel isolated, hopeless, or burdened, and help point them to a God who sees and loves them. I believe this ministry has so much potential to provide hope and support for families who face so much already. We are better together, and our church has the opportunity to be a safe and welcoming place for these individuals to learn about God and know that they are not doing life alone. For those who are members at Southridge, I encourage you to invite friends and families you may know who can utilize this ministry. We have a chance to impact a community often overlooked and possibly change lives through a simple invite.
She is wise beyond her years.
If you don't think that that's the right person for that job, she is so good.
She is. To be so, I don't know, to be so young. I mean, she really is wise beyond her years.
Well, like, she's been in this ministry for,
like, I don't even,
like, so when I asked her about her experience in it, I remember the amount of years she told me. I was like, wait, hold on, how old are you? And she told me, and I was like, so you've been doing this since you were in, like, middle school? Like, that's really the way, like, she has so many years behind her of doing this. And she has seen, like, she's seen with her own eyes and, like, the fruit of doing that with those families and the people. Like, she has seen that impact come to pass, and so she knows, like, firsthand the potential that it has. And so I absolutely love that she's bringing all that experience. I mean, you or I, yes, we've done things, but we haven't fully been in that type of all-out ministry for that many years. Like, she's bringing so much experience within it.
What is she, like, 20?
21, I think.
What was I doing at that age? Goodness gracious. Hey, everybody, my name's Johnny Knoxville. Like, that's the type of stuff I was doing at that age.
Oh, gosh.
It's awesome. Like, I see her. She goes to the pool that I go to. We're both live in Elkview, and, she's in Huntington during the week for schooling. But, like, this summer, I would see her at the pool, and she's over there, like, reading MCAT books. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's over there studying, reading books to help her with the MCATs, and she's like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm trying to get a handle on it and get everything read before whatever. And I'm sitting here like, dude, like, you could just be enjoying your time at the pool, and here you are. I'm just, it's really cool to see that.
Yeah. She took her spiritual gifts test, right?
Yes, she did. And so her highest is administration.
Which doesn't surprise me.
No,
not at all.
If you're sitting at the pool reading an impact, MCAT book.
That, but I mean, I just think like, I mean, just knowing Reagan and knowing like her schooling and just all of the things that she has on her plate, like that administration part does not surprise me in the least bit.
Yeah. And so service is like right behind that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it all comes through in the way that she
absolutely, you know,
cares and serves others. And then giving is her third highest. And I just pulled this off the printer like right before we came in here, and I saw those and I was like, yep,
Sorry
that's
that.
Reagan. That is totally Reagan. And I see that, you know, this is her. I mean, encouragement is within her top 5 or 6 as well. And apostleship and faith is up there. And so like, you just see like her faith is coming through, and what she sees and knows. Like, I don't know that anybody else would have stuck with the ministry that she's doing.
Yes.
With the numbers that she's seen, you know, I mean, there have been weeks where she's come and there wasn't really anybody or anybody that we knew of. Like, cause I think whenever I found out one of the kids was autistic in class, like none of the other teachers had known about it, but the dad told me, cause I talked to him about, hey, there was a little bit of a meltdown. I was trying to talk to him and he's like, oh, he's autistic. Like, and I was like, okay. I was like, that helps us understand. And he was like, I just didn't think about sharing it. And so, you know, I mean, but still, like, without knowing that or like seeing that, I don't know anybody else who would have the faith and the service minded to stick with that. Like, most people would be completely discouraged and be like, yep, nope, I'll go back over to this other place where I have more
And I will say, like, that is one thing that Reagan's on our leadership team for kids ministry. And so that is one of the things that, as the children's pastor, I have tried very, very hard to do is to encourage her in that, and just kind of keep going back to that, you know, even one child, or one adult, one individual, it's all worth it. And and I will say, and I can say this, but golly, I don't even know when it was. It was a few months back. This was before. Well, golly, it would have probably been a while ago, actually, because this was before we had our person that's coming all the time. But we had a little girl who was here, preschool class, second service, and she was nonverbal. She was within the preschool class. Parents dropped her off at preschool instead of taking her into the Lighthouse, which is fine. Like, that's totally fine. Go to the preschool classroom. Like, not a big deal. Yeah. She was nonverbal, and she had been fine for most of the class. And Reagan was actually, I think, helping in another classroom because there wasn't anybody in the Lighthouse. And the teachers, Nicole and Lisa, grabbed Reagan because they realized that the little girl was nonverbal, and they were having difficulties kind of trying to communicate with her and figuring out what was going on. Well, come to find out, the little girl was crying because she needed to use the restroom. So Reagan knew sign language, and she knew how to use the word bathroom in sign language. Reagan was able to go in and do this, and the little girl was able to tell her yes, and Reagan was able to go and take care of that. Yeah. But it's little things like that that like, and I remember after that day, Reagan stayed in there the rest of the class. But I remember after that day, Nicole and Lisa both like reached out, and they were like, I know that Reagan probably doesn't realize that like the impact that she's making, but it was so helpful to have her in class today. Yeah. And I think it's in those moments where it's like, you know, if you're listening to this, you're watching this, take time if you see Reagan to just thank her. Yeah. Because
I'll say thank you right now. You're doing good, Miss Good.
I will say, like, Terry and Tim and Gina, Terry is amazing. I've had the privilege now of knowing Terry for almost 2 years. And Terry is probably one of my favorite people. I love her. I love her so much. But I take so much joy in watching the interaction between her and Reagan each week. She wasn't here on Sunday. Terry wasn't. And the dynamics in class were different, and the E-Zone were different on Sunday when she's not here. Yeah. And it makes a difference. But I think the most important thing is knowing that, like, and it's not just Reagan. It's not just Reagan. Reagan is the face of the Lighthouse, and she really is. But we have so many people within our kids ministry that want to serve in the Lighthouse, and I have said that they'll serve in the Lighthouse once it's really starting to fill and those kinds of things. But I think that there's just so much joy in seeing the love of the volunteers and the influencers here, but also the love of the kids.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I mean, it's those kids will turn around, like, and when Terry comes in, they're excited to see her. She's in group with them. She's sitting there and they'll talk with her, and she's coloring with them. And it's just, she's part of their Sunday morning, just like they are part of hers. Yeah. And I don't know, for me, it's just something that's exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good encouragement for parents too, who maybe you're listening to this and you have a child with special needs, and maybe like part of the fear of attending a church is the other kids. Like, how will they respond to my child? Because I think, like, I could see that. Like, I remember wanting to, like, get angry at some kindergartners last year who were calling my son a baby because of short legs. So, like, you know what I mean? But so I can't imagine what, you know, what you maybe have faced in the past or what experiences you have coming into it. But, like, I hope that that's an encouragement to know that, like, we're fostering an environment, not just for your child, but, like, in such a way that, like, the kids here are learning something to also love your child. The kids will love your child,
well,
not just.
Pastor Anna was just talking about this. Sorry. But, like, Pastor Anna was just talking about this yesterday about, like, how they have teenagers that have special needs that are not part of the Lighthouse, but are actually, like, part of kids ministry. And just the cool moment that happened on Sunday with kids that, like, while the one little boy is back there singing at the top of his lungs, she said not a single person batted an eye. Like, he's just doing his thing, singing and worshiping, and not a single person batted their eye. And so I think that is definitely fostering that environment and allowing people to know that this is a safe place. And if not, it's going to be addressed. Like it will be addressed. And so I don't know. I just think that is such an important thing, but it's not. But also knowing that it's not just taking place there. Like, it is literally taking place back in our youth. And it really is kind of cool to see. I mean, Anna has talked about how neat it is to see all of that that's been going on over the last year back there, and how accepting and welcoming her teens are to individuals that have special needs. It's been really cool to hear her talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we hope that through our conversation today that parents, or maybe you have a family member, a distant cousin or whatever, or uncle, or just somebody that you know, or a coworker that may be looking for a church that has a special needs ministry, and that you can point them to this episode and they can hear from us on staff and also hear from Reagan as well. You know, we know that God's going to bless the faithfulness of the individuals that want to see this ministry thrive and succeed at every opportunity, you know.
And this is a shameless plug. If you would like to be part of the Lighthouse ministry, you can go to src.life and sign up, because even though we may only have one person, you can still come back and help.
For sure.
Like, we will still put you in there in that Lighthouse, and we will still allow you to have the time to, you know, hang out with the people that we do have that are back there, and foster those relationships.
Set up for growth, I think.
Yeah,
like, too.
absolutely.
And I think that, like, it, for someone that may be inspired to do this right now would be the best time to do it, because it'll get you accustomed to the routine and things to maybe possibly look for to help address needs and issues, instead of just off.
And right now we only offer the Lighthouse during the second service. So
we'd love to be able
we would love to be able to offer it for service, because I do think that there would be a need for that. But right now, I mean, really, Reagan is our really our only person. And so if you're interested in volunteering in the Lighthouse, let us know. Reach out, go to src.life, fill out a volunteer form, and mark special needs ministry, mark the Lighthouse ministry on there. I'd love to chat with you, and I know Reagan would too. So
And if maybe you're a church and you're wanting to start one, like, get a hold of us too, because you can do it easily. You don't have to have an individual room. You can do things. There are things you can do, and we'd love to, like, we want to help resource not just parents, but like other churches to do this as well. And so, you know, or if you're a parent and you have questions and are thinking about coming or whatever, like, just reach out. We would love to help and answer any questions. So
for sure. All right, it is time for mystery meat, and I already know which one I'm going for. It's this big question that's been right here because it always gets in the way every single week. Okay. So
last time I was on last week, it was a flop of a question.
Oh, did you not see it in the description of the podcast?
Yes, I did. That's why I laughed.
It was the most underwhelming
mystery.
Somebody was like, "Do you like to breathe?" And I'm like, yes, of course I like to breathe."
Yes.
This is not like, a mystery
would you
meat.
want to pick a holiday? What was it? Like a I don't know. It was not.
It doesn't even matter.
I don't know.
It was a junk question.
Yes.
And I hope that it wasn't a user submitted question.
Oh.
All right.
Oh dear.
Ooh, this one's okay. What is your favorite thing to drink in the morning?
It depends on my mood.
Or what mood you want to be in.
This morning it was sweet tea.
You've had that drink since this morning?
Yeah, it's still half full. It's only to here.
You've only drank that much since you woke up?
Yeah. Well, no, I drank 2 bottles of water.
I was about to be extremely worried for you.
I've drank 2 bottles of water. I don't like coffee, so mine's not like I'm not a coffee person.
No,
so
you had your bottle of Dr. Pepper yesterday.
I did. I was carrying around a bottle of Dr. Pepper yesterday. But normally I have to
2-liter
have
bottle.
some type of. It was a 2-liter. I only had one
it.
pour out of it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
No, I wouldn't judge. It's okay.
But normally it would be like water or probably water or some type of caffeine. I'm not picky on the caffeine.
Yeah.
Coke.
Except for coffee. You don't
sweet
want coffee.
tea. I do not want coffee.
It
smells amazing.
I drink a large cup of water, like this big, and before I even leave the house, like.
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
I was trying to point to my big water
bottle.
bottle.
Your big water.
I usually drink one of those before I make it here. Sorry, it's back out of the shot.
But most people listen to this.
Sorry, I know.
They can't see you pointing to stuff. It's so
that big water bottle.
I was like,
back there.
what do you were just kind of like you didn't want to turn your face away
listen,
from the microphone. So
I led an early morning Bible
way.
study already this morning, and then had a pretty intense conversation before this. So like, I'm not thinking fully clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fully clearly.
Fully clearly.
What was funny was you just mouthed that to yourself after you said it. You were like, and then that's when I said something. I'm so sorry.
No, I drink this large cup of water like this big. I put a little bit of ice in it, but then I usually drink a cup like that before I go to bed and whenever I wake up because it's
I would have to go to the bathroom 30 times in the middle of the night.
No,
I go to the bathroom several times during the night. But
that's not the mystery meat question.
I'm just saying.
It's not how many times you go to the restroom. It's what do you drink whenever you wake up, guys.
Well, you're the one that started talking about drinking that at night instead of in the morning. But yeah, because I have my
but I wasn't
water
talking
bottle.
about my bathroom habits.
Listen.
It's your emotional support bottle, and that's okay. I had one yesterday.
I have been quieted.
But so in the morning or at night, in the morning, I take all my pills. Y'all are crazy. Like, we just trying to figure out what we want to drink, guys.
She's trying to tell you she wants her water bottle.
Well, she's taking the scenic route to get there. Goodness, this is a A to B question. Like, I go to even if you were just saying what you drank, like, I feel like you were like, I go to Antarctica and I go chip off some ice.
That might be where my brain is right
and then I melt it. And then I ride a donkey across the ocean to get back here. And it's just like, no, just tell us what you're drinking. What do you drink?
Water
Okay,
first,
good.
and
Water.
then often coffee.
Yeah. What just happened?
You said something about water at night. She said I'd have to get up and go to the bathroom a lot, and then it made me think of I have my water bottle all the time. Like a water bottle. Normally I bring a water bottle to meetings. I'll bring a water bottle and coffee.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For those of you who can't see, I literally have a Chick-fil-A and water bottle right now.
I drink lots of water, but I keep it by my bed at night because not because of emotional support.
Is that what got you? Is that when you lost it? Because I said it was your emotional support water bottle.
Because I almost always have it. So it's like my security blanket. Anyway, but because
I freak out if you lose
wake up
it?
really thirsty at night. I have lost water bottles. Like it doesn't have to be that specific water bottle. I just need a water bottle. I didn't have my water bottle last night, and I woke up with a sore throat, because I didn't get to drink some water throughout the night.
Because your
weirdo
emotional support bottle was at work, probably.
No, it was just downstairs.
Jared is like, and we're done.
Yeah. But so anyway, I like water. It keeps you hydrated, which then in turn makes you go potty. It's okay. All right, everybody potties.
There you go.
Dude,
No
somebody's
deal.
somebody's gonna share this. Like, we have this really important episode.
You know
that
what?
we need to.
You can
It
clip
took
it
a
and go back, and we
switch.
can start this mystery meet again.
This
if you
whole
want.
debacle
Like,
mystery meet is for sure
Listen.
going on social media,
It's-
TikTok, Facebook,
it's-
whatever.
Oh,
We are
yes.
highlighting this.
The bathroom
because-
habits. Speaking of which, no, I'm just
drinking
kidding.
habits leads to bathroom
I'm
habits.
just kidding.
And
It was funny though. Real stuff though. It is funny because this morning I looked at Landon and Olivia and I was like, all right, y'all need to go potty before we leave. And Landon goes, potty? I'm not 4. I'm like,
listen,
just go to the bathroom.
still say it.
Like, go potty.
potty is a much more
Go
fun
potty.
word than bathroom.
He's like,
or
the
restroom
potty.
or-
I'm like, don't do me
like-
like that.
I don't want to. It's okay. I have little kids. I say potty.
Well,
And I say potty to adults. Like, I'll say, I got to go potty after this. And I
well,
don't
that's
care.
more than what I say. I'm normally just, we won't go there. I'll just be like, hey, I got to go pee. That's what I normally say. So-
My grandma said,
I got to go.
yeah. My grandma said, hey, it's time to go. We appreciate y'all listening.
And
I feel like my face is hot right now.
You are very
it
flush.
is warm in your office all of a sudden.
It is.
It got
Yeah.
real hot in
It's
here.
really warm.
It's all right.
It felt
But
good, but now I'm sweating.
thank y'all for listening. We hope that if anything through this, that you are partnering with us and praying for this ministry, just to where that the door is already open for the opportunity for families to come in and trust us and to be able to have a place for their kids to feel loved and welcome and also hear about Jesus as well. But thank you so much for tuning in this week, and we will see you guys and gals next week. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.